Welcome back into this off-season edition of Ravens Unscripted. Garrett, Cliff, and Ryan here, and this was a favorite in year one, really, for Soapbox. So why not bring it back here in the off-season? Top priorities, guys, heading into 2019. And the star of Final Drive, a guy who steps in front of a camera every day, will open things up for us. Garrett, you're first on Soapbox here.
Right,
and as you know, 30 seconds
here,
and I get the ding here. So 3, 2, and 1, sir.
Here's what I see as the biggest offseason priority for the Ravens. It's to build up the offensive line, particularly the middle of this offensive line. I look at center and I look at left guard. If the Ravens can address this position in the draft, oftentimes when you're in that middle to late of the first round of the draft, you can get one of the best guards in the entire draft. If the Ravens can do that and then maybe supplement that also through free agency and give themselves the best offensive line in football, I think that this offense can really grow significantly. This is an offense with Lamar Jackson at quarterback that's going to be predicated on the run game. And to have a great run game, build up that O-line.
I got a real hot take here.
Okay.
It just hit me.
Ooh.
Garrett reminds me of Mel Kiper.
Ooh,
his passion,
Mel Kiper.
his speed,
The hair is tall.
Yeah, we're not talking. But he just brought it at the Soapbox there with the passion of the draft legend Mel Kiper. Well done. I don't even know what you said, but it sounded good.
Right.
It sounded good.
Excellent.
Cliff, you ready to follow that up?
I don't know, but we'll find out.
Mel Kiper, here we go.
3, 2, and 1.
I think the Ravens need to get some more playmakers, particularly on offense, but I'll take them on defense too. I'm watching the Juju Smith-Schusters of the world, Ezekiel Elliott, Julian Edelman in Super Bowl. I want to see another playmaker added to the Ravens next season. They found a great one in Lamar Jackson. He needs help. And I think they need to find a way to turn some smaller plays into bigger plays, and on defense, create more turnovers. So finding playmakers in this new Ravens regime under Eric DeCosta, I think is going to be a huge priority. I'd like to see that start happening this offseason.
All
right.
Right on the mark here.
Can an offensive line be a playmaker? Does that count?
Yeah, we didn't even break down
for
what
the
Garrett
playmakers?
said. So we got offensive line and playmaker here, Mink, before you step up. Any thoughts? I mean, it's kind of not hard to argue with this.
No, yeah, I think both are big priorities. Here's the thing. Offensive line is more of an upgrade, right? I don't think that the offensive line last year was bad. I don't think it's a glaring hole, but I do think that you can upgrade. But if you're looking more at holes, I would agree with Cliff's point more. I mean, if we're talking about Michael Crabtree and John Brown moving on from this team, who are the wide receivers next season? And I know that the Ravens are going to be a run-based team. They're going to run the ball a lot, and I agree with you in building an offensive line, but they still have to throw the ball, and he has to have good wide receivers to help him get better as a passer.
I'll say this. I do think if you're talking strictly need, I think that wide receiver is a greater need for this team. But I think that if you want something that can truly make your team transcendent offensively, I think you give yourself the best offensive line in football. I think that
was doubling down on
I'm going all
Well, and I think when you say wide receiver, I think of a guy like Tyreek Hill. You need somebody, not your big 6'2", 220 pound.
I disagree.
I think you need, doesn't that fit much more with what Lamar in this offense is going to look like than somebody who's just a guy who kind of
I kind of think that, just to answer your question, I kind of think the profile of a wide receiver for this team moving forward is got to be able to block, for sure. So that's a bigger guy generally. I don't see Tyreek Hill taking on
so Juju's better than this. Julian Edelman, two things that Cliff brought up are two guys that can jet motion across the line but can also make plays over the middle.
I think it's also a guy with a pretty big catch radius. Because I don't think that Lamar is right now your pinpoint accuracy Drew Brees kind of thrower. I think a guy needs to be able to make catches like
all
that.
right. Well, speaking of Lamar, I think that's what Ryan Mink is going to address here in Soapbox.
You guys warmed me up.
Nice cardigan, by the way.
Thank you very much.
All right, 3, 2, and 1.
Well, everybody kind of mentions building around Lamar Jackson. What about Lamar Jackson? I think his development is the biggest offseason priority. Now, look, his playmaking, his ability as a runner, that's not going to change. He's going to have that for a long time. But there's no doubt that he does need to improve as a passer because even as they're going to be run-focused, they still need to be able to pass the ball effectively. So I think that Greg Roman, who has a history of building run games, is going to have to prove that he can develop a quarterback and a passing attack behind Lamar Jackson. Right on the dot.
Right on the dot there. We were generous with time. So this is Greg Roman handling this? We're not going Tom House heading out to Cali to work on throwing motions and stuff?
Yeah, I think it's primarily Greg Roman. You also have James Urban, obviously, and I think David Culley will be also part of this, the new hire, as a passing game kind of consultant there. So all of them are going to have a hand in the development of Lamar Jackson, which I think they did a good job last year. Lamar, from the day that he stepped in at rookie minicamp to the playoffs, was a much better thrower. And the talent is there. He can make pretty much every throw in the book. Now, he has to make them more consistently. He just missed too many passes. His completion rate was too low. If you can improve on all those things and Lamar keeps his playmaking running ability, whew, this guy's going to be electric.
Yeah, I think Lamar, too, one thing I love about him is that he's, as the coaches refer to, as a gym rat. If the work he's going to put in, how much Lamar Jackson improves is the key, I think, to this Ravens franchise over the next 3 or 4 years. But whatever happens, it won't be because he didn't put in the time and he wasn't competitive enough. He really loves the fact, I think, that a lot of people doubt that he will become a more consistent passer, just like he loved it when people were saying he should work out as a wide receiver a year ago at the Combine. He is driven to prove that he can play quarterback at this level. That doesn't mean it'll happen, but he's going to put in the work to try and make sure it does.
Yeah, I think Lamar Jackson's development is huge. The best way to give a quarterback opportunity to develop, give him a great offensive line.
Oh, my God.
Look at that.
This guy doesn't let it go.
Circle. Well done by the star of Final Drive. You're getting a lot of plugs. Next segment, the man who's going to make all these decisions for this offense and this team moving forward, Eric DeCosta. We introduce you to the new general manager. Coming up.